they can spend their time.
Sorry.
And so that is an exciting thing. And there are many other topics which are also on the Carter School agenda for presentations where you can sign up. The unfortunate thing is the time difference. You don't want to log in at 4 a.m. But anyhow, I encourage you to look at least the Carter School and events so that you know what we are doing here, because there's so much which overlaps with your interests.
So, Crystal, whenever you have some useful information, please send to me. I'll distribute. I'll share it with all our networks. Okay? Okay.
If you don't complain that I drown you in email, I will do that.
Okay, okay. Something important. Okay.
I sent you the list for the whole Peace Week, and you get an idea.
Right. Okay. How about
thank you.
Yeah, Professor Mikio Oishi, after moving to Thailand, okay, your teaching job there. So what's going on? How do you like it?
Okay, so I joined my college university. My university is Konke University, but the faculty is college, international college. So it's called Konke University International College. So all classes are conducted in English, so that I can teach classes. But I'm teaching only one course each semester. So it's quite okay, and I need not spend many long hours to prepare the classes. But instead of that, as part of the contract, I need to publish publication. So that this is now main challenge. Yeah. Otherwise, okay. And Konke not well known as a tourist destination in Thailand, but once you are here, it's a very, very nice place, very comfortable. Yeah, small town, and and the life is very good, and the people are very, very kind. And I like living here. And also teaching.
Okay, Konkan, right. It's rather near to Laos, okay, towards to Laos, okay.
Yes.
Okay. How about Izumi-san from Japan? Okay. How are you doing?
Weather is it's becoming warmer, and a kind of early bloom shed blossom called Kazakura in full bloom, and we are getting warm and warm. So we spend days comfortable. And now Japan is final scandal hit the lines of newspaper. During parties, that members gained secret money. So it's a big agenda of political discussion. So, and one more, in this time of season, Japan is spring talking between employers and workers, talking about pay rise. And most of the pay rise are decided this season, and we are focused on this issue. Thank you.
Okay. Moderator just arrived here. How about the Mary? Would you add a little more about the Japan and your place Kawasaki and your organization Koala? Okay, organization. You are still promoting Koala, running Koala. The this migrant the wives. Okay, for the women action. Okay. Mary.
Thank you very much. And I'm very busy these days because we will have the Koala, we will have the big event. And the Koala was we get subsidy from the city, and we can hire the professional singer and who sings the national song, different countries' national song in local language. She's only one who can sing the national anthem in different languages. So we are looking forward to hear her song, and so that now choir members are very busy to gather the audience and also prepare some, not only adult, but the children will come, so that they're busy.
Okay.
That's all.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, more than 25 years or 20 years, you are like, you know,
20,
as a founder,
28 years.
28 years, take care of
Yeah.
the your migrant, the family members and the women particularly, like spouses. Okay, Mary. I was there in one time, a long time ago. Okay, okay. How about the Sweet, Dr. Sweet? How have you been in Thailand? So what's new? You were in your case?
Well, as I fully retired from my academic life, so I did not have much duty. I had coffee with Mikio every week.
Same city, right? You are in the same city.
Once a week. And,
you have
and
okay.
yeah, and right now, my university, Convenor University, just recently celebrate 60th anniversary. And this university got very good support from New Zealand government from the beginning up to now. So I'm compiling some old photos from the university archive and try to make it into ebook to celebrate 60th anniversary of long-lasting relationship between New Zealand and Convenor University.
Okay, yeah, Dr. Sweet is the kind of like a founder or initiator of like a Mekong Institute. Okay, Mekong Institute is based in that university, you know, Convenor University.
That's also got a very strong support at the beginning from New Zealand.
Right. So Mekong is very interesting. The liver, like a liver of a mother, the liver of a mother or something like, you know, 6 countries including China. Okay, all Indochina. Okay, it's very important. How about Rebecca? Okay, long time no see. You are still based in the Maryland, United States, right? Okay, how have you been? Okay.
We've been busy.
Healthy?
Hi everyone. Hi Maja. Hi everyone. Dr. Swede. Oh, Raymond is not. My virtual neighbor Christelle.
I think
we will meet someday. We're quite close, but we haven't met yet. Well, these days I've been busy with the family matters and personal issues, and things are working well. I'm happy to report that I'm no longer as stressed as I used to be for more than a year. So I thank God for that. And now the talk around us is elections, and kidnappings of, indeed, kidnappings of girls, school children, innocent children in northern Nigeria, which is quite close to Cameroon. So Boko Haram is not dead. In fact, they are stronger and causing more destructions in the lives of ordinary people who have nothing to do with politics. So we'll pray for them, and a group of African ladies and I are putting together some help initiative to send to them, to assist them. If you look at the pictures and you look at even the buildings where they were attending school, it's unfathomable that someone can even think of going to disrupt a life that is just barely existing. So, but this year, one of my resolutions, and I'm already failing in that regard, is to be positive. To be positive and try to listen and relate and, contribute to positivity and not dwell so much on the negative issues, conflicts and stuff that surrounds us. So as I mentioned in my message to Song Ho, when I do have the opportunity to speak on this forum or to contribute to our discussions, I will be focusing on positivity-ness. I will be doing a survey of whatever things people are doing to put a smile on people's faces. So that's where I am. And in terms of academics, I'm writing a paper with my former classmate in graduate school. She's from India, who is currently a PhD student in Anglia Ruskin University in the UK. So that is also keeping me busy away from all the negative news that surrounds us. Okay.
Okay, Rebecca.
And I look forward to Maya's presentation today. It's always informative and educational, so I'm ready.
Okay. I saw more friends are here, but because of their situation, they should block their camera or microphone. Okay, 4 more friends. Okay, from this Spain, Dr. Manuel is here, and Migang Yang from the Philippines. She heard they some development program. Okay, Camp Asia is working for promoting all this developing program there, and Raymond is here as a moderator. How about the Maya? Okay, before you are the main presentation, would you I was wondering how have you been and what's new, and your life there, briefly.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. Again, so lovely to see everyone. And just very, very busy. Like I'll tell you more when I give the update on the project, but it's getting very, very intense, even more intense and interesting. So just pulled in many directions and trying to chart a good path, as Rebecca was saying, like really focusing on the positive vision. But yeah, I'm in The Hague still, and was very, very tired in January, doing too much. And then plan to be at a special position actually in Hamburg at this institute in Hamburg starting next September, which I'm looking forward to also. But yeah, doing fine. Lots of work to do, lots of opportunities as these challenges intensify around the world, as Rebecca was saying.
Okay. Maya, okay, later. And just go ahead, please.
May I say, Maya, I'm from Hamburg. I am from Hamburg. And a McDonald's hamburger.
Amazing. Christa, you should come over. You should come over while I'm there, and we can do something on like the broader peace the International Broader Peace Narratives, because the World Future Council is also there. They're working with future generations, and so let's try to do
That's
that
in
if you
April, in
want. If
April?
you
Well,
no,
let's
I won't be there until
communicate.
September. Yeah, I won't be there until September. But they have they want to be like this institution to foment positive social change, really, and with a global vision and collaborative. Yeah.
Okay, Maya, you can promote it more later, okay? And still
Yeah,
the latecomers are here. And Dr. Vitun from Thailand, are you still in Thailand, in Bangkok, right? Long time no see. How are you, Vitun?
Yes, I'm in Bangkok. I'm sitting at home, so I decided
Yeah, right. Chulalongkorn University, what your institute is, right? What the Peace Institute of like you know
the
the
Rotary Peace Center has
Rotary like Peace Institute, but the program is not is not anymore, right?
it has been closed because of the whatever disagreement between Chula and the Rotary International, which is quite stupid, to be very frank.
Okay. So you are doing some other new project?
No, I'm just enjoying my free time.
Okay, then you welcome to our forum. Okay, welcome forum more time. And Bernard, long time no see. So how's what's going on there in your place in Manila, Bernard? In your University of the Philippines?
Yeah, same old, same old.
Okay. Okay, welcome. And I'll give more time Raymond as a moderator. Okay. Our forum, this year will start our forum, and different from the pandemic period. Okay, pandemic period, everybody should, to stay in your home, and you have more time, but everybody is busy. You tied up with your schedule, okay, busy schedule. So I cannot push you, my regular members, okay, and but this is our core, mostly core members of our, the regular members, and our forum from today, starting today, and every other week, every 2 weeks, okay, every 2 weeks instead of every week, every 2 weeks. I already set up our first season, okay, first session, like 3 months, March, April, May and June, okay, 4 months, okay, set up, and it's very exciting. I'll invite some speakers from Balkan area too, okay, and so today, every year, okay, since we started our forum, Dr. Maja Groff, she always, starting this our forum, okay, this forum every year, and today. Maja, okay, Dr. Maja Groff as a speaker, she will give us update of the on the campaign for an international anti-corruption court. Okay, we call it initially it's IACC, and she will add maybe her like climate convener, the governance commission activities. Okay, the progress of that, and. So she also needs your support, okay, from like Asia, right? Asia networks, and I asked her, I give a chance to us, to share her what this campaign, the progress, okay, and how could you join, okay? So today's moderator, as you know, okay. The Raymond Kirieko, okay, from the Philippines, and okay, Ambassador Resident Jenny, okay, from Indonesia, okay. Later you can join us, okay. Today's moderator, as you know, the moderator Raymond is a peace and human rights advocate. and international election observer and an executive coach. Okay, I visit her coaching this school, okay, institute, and he played a role of like a consultant and workshop facilitator, and he has traveled many places as far as I know, okay, as an observer of the election, and also he's like a Covey, what is the 9 principles of the very famous that the leadership, okay, program. He's the representative of that this leadership program, okay, in the Philippines, okay, and also our History NGO Forum every 2 years, we hold our conference, out of Korea, overseas. And 2018, we held our conference in Manila, and the co-chair of our, organizing committee. Okay. Raymond Kiriak. Okay, welcome. Okay, Raymond, would you, the podium is yours, and give us some your news too. Okay, what's going on? Okay.
Thank you so much. Good evening and good morning, friends. I hope you can hear me in this place. I hope the internet connection is working. My role as moderator for you today. I look forward to hear Maja Groff.
Raymond, excuse me, Raymond, wait a minute.
Yes.
Your connection is not very smooth. The voice is not very clear. Okay, we check it one more time.
I know. I like to transition so you can hear me better. I can find anyway, good evening and good morning, friends of the forum. Presentation about the concern or real when we change the global society. The issue of Philippines where people are split, and those who are clamoring for justice from our previous residents for whom to face criminal cases of IACC preparing to file against him. I look forward to hearing Maja's talk. To ask us to learn how relevant this will be issues of corruption. I hope you can all hear. So anyway, so if Maja is ready with the presentation, you can turn over the floor and listen to Maja.
Okay, Maja, okay.
Yes.
Your
The
turn.
floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you so much, Raymond. I couldn't hear what he said. Could you hear Sung Ho or others?
Yeah, your voice is very clear.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, your voice.
I can hear you clearly.
Okay, I'm sorry. Good to see you, Raymond. Sorry, I couldn't hear what you said, but hopefully later, maybe. Yeah, I can go ahead with my presentation then, and I'll just share my PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Yes, please. I'll try to find a better connection.
Okay. Can everybody see that okay?
Yeah, it's good.
Is it good? Does that work? Yes? Okay, wonderful.
Yes,
I have a
yes.
thumbs up. Amazing. Okay, wonderful. So great to be with everybody again. And what I'll do today, I'll just go through, I'll try to keep it relatively quick, but just to give you, again, like a really short background, just to refresh your memory on the IACC project, and then a status update. And then I'll also give you an update and a little bit more background on the Climate Governance Commission and a new global civil society alliance we're organizing. I've presented on that in the past also, and there's a lot of interest, so I'll just update you on that. There's some exciting developments there as well. And then I'll end and we can have discussion and conversation. So the International Anti-Corruption Court project, and it's been gaining a lot of momentum. And I just wanted to also note, this introductory photo, that's the previous foreign minister of the Netherlands, who was there were two foreign ministers who really spearheaded this project at first. And now he is now the EU Commission official for climate issues in Brussels. So just saying, the overlap of these different issues, which I'll say something about also later. So the IACC proposal, as you might remember, was a proposal by a U.S. federal judge, Judge Mark Wolf, who has a very, very interesting background of a whole range of successful prosecutions in the U.S. As a prosecutor, but then also as a judge presiding over very important cases, largely tackling state-based corruption using U.S. federal jurisdiction, which is sort of a layer of jurisdiction, complementary and above the state jurisdiction. All this political corruption in Massachusetts that he helped to address. And he also helped as a very young lawyer on the Watergate prosecutions. So from a very early age was thinking, the highest level of politicians, leaders must be held to account according to the standards of the rule of law. So he was traveling around the world and helping prosecutors, judges around the world try to, ground in strong anti-corruption practice. And he realized that really at the international level, an international layer of enforcement jurisdiction could really help once corruption has gotten entrenched at the national level. So it was really his experience based on US federal practice. And as someone who's been involved in a lot of international treaty negotiations, the US federal experience is actually very valuable, not because of any reason, the US in particular, but because it's a very big jurisdiction with a lot of very large, states, jurisdictions under a federal system. So by analogy, you can learn a lot at the international level, what institutions we might be able to develop at the international level in a community of states, which you can, of course, now also learn a lot from European level, where it's supranational institutions in a lot of European states. So just as background, it's interesting that this U.S. Judge with his federal experience was very central to this proposal. And I might have shared this before, but a movie was made by the very famous U.S. director, Martin Scorsese, with Matt Damon and other movie stars about these corruption issues in Massachusetts. It's highly fictionalized, but it's just interesting, if you want to watch this film, it's just gives some of like the texture of those cases and, the types of corruption also interlinked with the FBI, as I recall, etc. So the NGO behind the IACC proposal, again, is a really wonderful group of former ambassadors, academics, judges, really from around the world. We have an amazing Filipino member, Emil Bolongaita. We have Justice Goldstone from South Africa, Claudio Escobar from Guatemala. She was a judge there and had to flee Guatemala after when she was trying to address corruption issues. She and her family were under threat. She cannot go back. And there's other stories like that. So it's a very interesting international group of people who are very, very devoted to these issues. And then, as I think I've shared before, we were sort of surprised when the proposal for this International Anti-Corruption Court was out there. Like so many, for example, Nobel laureates signed on to support this, again, from all over the world. You see here Iran, Shirin Ebadi, Mohammed Yunus, Bangladesh, etc. So it really was demonstrating the feeling that there was a need for really taking this very seriously and how it was affecting so many different regions. So the Canadian and Dutch governments held a roundtable over a year ago now, and they were the first states, I think along with Colombia previously, who came out officially to support the creation of an IACC. And you can see some of their comments there. They see it as a cross-cutting issue. So at the prime minister or the head of state and foreign minister level, there's very strong support from Canada, Netherlands at the moment to create this institution, and then other countries coming on board, which I'll show you later. And then this is John Kerry, who's just stepped down as climate envoy for the US, and of course, former Secretary of State. And him noting how corruption is this really cross-cutting international issue in terms of global governance, and trying to have a sane, sensible management of the whole planet, really. And another reason why this IACC proposal we think is gaining ground or very relevant is this is a Transparency International Corruption Perceptions Index, and you see here like a gap between their index results over 10 years, and you see it's a little bit changed in over the 10-year period, but a lot of red zones in the world and troublesome situations. So despite efforts there have been more and more efforts to tackle corruption at various levels, we're still not getting to the heart of it. And also just to note, of course, there's all sorts of types of corruption, administrative petty corruption. And this is a slide from one of the academic, the Filipino academic actually, who is on the III board. But this IACC really aims to address grand corruption, highest levels of corruption, and get at the state capture phenomenon, where a country where the judiciary, prosecutors, etc., are intimidated or unduly influenced by the highest levels of leadership. So the court has a very big ambition, in fact, and that's why it's also an international proposal, because national solutions just really struggle to get to the heart of these issues and tackle these grand corruption situations. And also another reason for the IACC proposal is there have been incredible strides forward in the international community acknowledging, what a high priority addressing corruption is. The UN Convention Against Corruption, adopted in 2003, has I think about 189 or 190 parties at the moment, so almost every country in the world. But there are no genuine enforcement mechanisms under that convention, and you see all these other instruments which are normative. They lay out aspirations, but it's largely, even though they might be considered legally binding, there's no implementation, real implementation or enforcement oversight with teeth. So this is great. We have strong agreement around the world on what corruption looks like in general, that it's so important for societies to address it, but we're missing that enforcement mechanism and really moving forward with genuine accountability. So now we've really in earnest moved on to drafting a model treaty for this potential court. And this is just one of the committees that we've put together, which has, for example, the former prosecutor of the International Criminal Court from Gambia, Hans Corell. He's the former Undersecretary General for Legal Affairs for the United Nations, former Supreme Court justices, etc. So it's a really, again, a group of senior officials and experts who really want to support this idea. And in terms of institutional design features, what we're thinking of in terms of how do we architect this institution properly, how do we design the treaty properly. I mean, there are many issues, and I won't get into the nitty-gritty details with you. We don't have time, but just to say, part of what we want to do is to really learn from other international tribunals. For example, the International Criminal Court, which is meant, of course, to be a court of international general jurisdiction for genocide, crimes against humanity, war crimes, and the crime of aggression. And how do we learn from the Rome Statute that established that court, but then from practice also? So, for example, media and public information outreach, how we have even-handed prosecution around the world. So there's not the sense or the perception that the court would be targeting any one particular region. How to make it as economical as possible, how to fund such an institution, et cetera, So how to make cases more expeditious, faster than some of the big cases of the ICC, et cetera. So there's lots of issues we have to try to tackle to the best of our ability in terms of the treaty design. And so this is just a snapshot of the most recent updates. States and regional bodies are coming on board to publicly, officially support the creation of an IACC. That includes, as I mentioned, Canada, Netherlands, under a previous administration, Colombia, Ecuador, Timor-Leste, Nigeria, Moldova. The EU Parliament has officially endorsed, in addition to many governments around the world across regions that have expressed support or interest. So the diplomatic outreach is ongoing to various states, diverse states, but it's also a matter of resources because the III is a very small team. But that is ongoing, and it will be very interesting in some of the upcoming conversations. For example, we'll be speaking to Korean officials, also probably approaching Singapore soon, among others. And by the way, we were just at meetings in London, and the Labour Party shadow foreign secretary has already publicly said that if Labour is elected in the UK as the next government, as I think now the polls are showing they at this point they might be, then they will support this IACC. Civil society supporters I think there are now dozens and dozens across the world who are supporting this proposal, and also many more that want to get involved. There's a young or like a youth network, anti-corruption network, that's supporting the ICC proposal as well. And really, it's also been a matter of resources, because there's so many civil society organizations that want to be involved, but III is just trying to keep up with all the growth and the also the actual official governmental interest, which was surprising that it came so early in the campaign. But that's a contact email, or you can let me know if you have any organizations that you want to join on, to sign on to support the IACC. Just let me know, or email this email address. And we've also been busy establishing a III Europe, Integrity Initiatives International Europe, to be like a sister organization to the one in the US. And this European Foundation nonprofit, which will be based here in The Hague City, will also be supporting it. The Dutch government is giving also some money for first few years of operation. And so we'll have a bit more capacity for the diplomatic outreach, civil society outreach, and the Europe office might start working more intensively with Asia and the MENA region, as well as Europe. and because one of the board members on III Europe is a former Dutch Minister of Foreign Affairs, and so he will probably quite easily be able to get conversations with different government officials around the world. And yes, and the model treaty development I mentioned, it's underway. We have probably about 60 experts, legal, judicial experts, academics, practitioners, judges contributing, as well as a big US law firm, Devois and Plimpton. They are giving pro bono support to this treaty development. And we have a next meeting in early April in Hamburg at the new institute that I mentioned earlier. And then hopefully we're trying to aim to have like a draft treaty by August, but we'll see if that's too ambitious or not, because we have many technical issues to think about. So I'll just, for the next 10 or 15 minutes or so, I'll now pivot to talking about the Mobilizing an Earth Governance Alliance, or MEGA, that is now a global civil society smart coalition platform to try to advocate for better international climate and environment governance. So for this part of the presentation, I'll just talk about the Climate Governance Commission report, explain to you what MEGA is, and then how it intends to have impact, and our smart coalition strategy. And so the Climate Governance Commission, and I think I've presented before, or I've definitely presented before to this group on this commission that I've been working on since very late 2019. And by the way, our very first strategy meeting in, I believe it was October 2019, was at the Global Green Growth Institute, headed by Ban Ki-moon in Seoul. So we had an Asian start, really, to this project. And this is just a photo of some of our commissioners and other experts in Villers, Switzerland last June. They very kindly hosted and brought a lot of our commissioners who are former heads of state and ambassadors, etc. So a few of the people in this slide are, for example, Mary Robinson, who's former president of Ireland, former High Commissioner for Human Rights and Climate Envoy, and now is chair of the Elders, started by Nelson Mandela, to have trying to have ethical role modeling, ethical leadership. And they speak out regularly on lots of international issues. You have, for example, the ambassador of the Maldives to New York. There's a very well-known youth climate activist. There's a very well-known planetary climate scientist, Johan Rockström. There's Wanjira Matai, she's head of the World Resource Institute Africa. Maria Fernanda Espinosa, who's was a president of the UN General Assembly, etc. So just to say, it's a great group working on this broader international climate governance issue. We had an interim report in 2021, late 2021, on identifying where we see sort of the governance policy gaps at the moment in climate, because we already have all the solutions to tackle climate change, but these just aren't being implemented, in time and at scale. We have a policy gap also. The policies needed to drive the change just aren't getting into place, or countries are, and jurisdictions are reinventing the wheel too much, not learning from each other enough. And then there's this, what we see is this governance gap at the international level. We have to have stronger, more sane international governance for climate and ecological issues, as the risks we're running now are just unacceptable. So these are some of the reports that we previously released from this global governance lens. For example, a paper on Towards a Global Environment Agency, like an IMF for a climate environment, for example, but of course better designed than the IMF. Also, comparative climate councils, countries. It was about 34 or so when we wrote the paper. I think there are more now, but each country establishing a science-based climate policy council to advise the policy making and goals. And this is just a broader list of our commissioners. So we have, in addition to those I mentioned or showed before, there's also for example, for the broader Asia Pacific region, we have a Chinese commissioner, Maja, from the Institute of Environmental Policy or in Beijing, or it's IPE. He's a wonderful Chinese commissioner doing amazing work in China. We have Nobuo Tanaka, a Japanese commissioner who's former head of the International Energy Agency, and many others from different regions and backgrounds. And, you know, also why all of these people, former statespeople, I think, got involved in this project is they, you know, feel the kind of, you know, urgency of the current moment and the importance of the current moment. The Secretary General of the UN has said, you know, we're at an inflection point in history, biggest shared test since Second World War. We have to make, you know, certain choices as humanity, choose a bit breakthrough if we're not going to break down. And from a scientific perspective, okay, why is this the case? And some of you might be familiar with his planetary boundaries framework, and that one of the climate scientists that you saw on that first slide, he helped develop this framework of planetary boundaries. Scientists have elaborated like a model about what are the safe sort of boundaries across the planetary ecological systems and biophysical systems that keep humanity in a safe operating space. And as of late 2023, we've crossed 6 of 9 of these planetary boundaries. So we're in this orange, yellow, red zone, danger zone. So really our task as humanity will basically have to be drawing down, how do we combine our efforts to get back into that green safe space. And to this end, we released a report in late 2023 before COP28 governing our planetary emergency, and I'll put it in the chat so you can have a look if you wish. It's about 100 pages, but parts of it also are very bite-sized, and I hope you enjoy it and might like it. And we propose in that report on the governance, from the governance lens, 10 near-term proposals for strengthening international governance, and then 5 medium-term. So you can see like a whole range here. I won't go through all of them, but for example, number 1, we're working with the Club of Rome to help support their work in how do we improve the climate COPs every year to make them more efficient, focused on implementation, accountability, et cetera, et cetera. Number 2, this is scientifically a planetary emergency, so shouldn't the UN General Assembly declare this, and shouldn't be their measures, for example, through an emergency platform to bring different actors, institutions, and international system together to work together, et cetera. And just number 10, about city alliances, we're working, for example, with the Qatar Foundation on a new arid cities network of cities, so they can learn from each other. They're underserved cities, often in the global south. So that's a very interesting project. Also, how are cities implicated as sort of part of this international governance matrix, and the academic we have working on that, he will also, with the IPCC, contribute to a report on cities in climate science and governance soon. And then the medium-term proposals, I had mentioned Global Environment Agency, International Court for the Environment, you know, different sort of paradigm shifts in international law, Bretton Woods institutions. This is very popular now. Like Mia Mottley, Barbados, head of state of Barbados, has like brought this up in terms of fundamentally we need to, you know, shift these institutions to make them fit for purpose for the present time. And when I started the new institute in Hamburg in September, I'll be working on some of those near-term proposals, but also like these medium-term, how do we really start a process to get some of these bigger institutions in place, and how can they be properly designed and architected, which of course is a big challenge. And then I just wanted to mention also 5 in the light of our discussion earlier. And I very much, in terms of, intersection of different issues and strengthening international law generally, like, for example, reforming the International Court of Justice to make it stronger and better, really, are key planks in enhancing our governance structures, our shared governance structures for the planet generally across different issue areas. And I just wanted to share these 2 slides in terms of the latest scientific thinking in Earth system science. I showed you the planetary boundaries framework. This is a visual from another interdisciplinary group, which and they're advocating to make all those arrows, those different flows and cycles. Those are the planetary weather and environmental systems interacting and keeping us in this what has been this Holocene geological era in a stable state. They have now been disrupted by human influence. So again, we have to now look in a different way about this very clear planetary reality and demands. And this organization, Common Home for Humanity, they are advocating for this what they call software, all these biophysical systems that keep the weather stable, et cetera, they should be declared common heritage of humanity. So we should manage this together. And that should form part of our new governance structures. And also, of course, just to say it's a human challenge, right? That planetary reality then means it's all of us that we have to take into account and think about as we design, next generation governance and really try to tackle these problems. And I just love this quote from a philosopher, he's at Oxford now, called Toby Ord. And he talks about how, as humanity, we're now on a precipice. We're facing these planetary existential risks. Environment and climate are one. And he says, he kind of projects into the future. He says, okay, we will look back and we will have a more just, skillful, mature civilization, hopefully. But I would argue also we have to try to employ, just, skillful, mature civilization principles now. It's the time is now to, try to be wiser, more mature, skillful. So I sort of think it's interesting, like as a thought experiment for, NGOs, academics, professionals, like what would that look like if we're thinking in this all of humanity perspective? How can we wisely, produce this civilization? And just I'll end with just saying a few words about Mega, because it's a new platform. This is the website, earthgovernance.org. So it's really meant to be a consortium, an alliance of civil society organizations around the world to strengthen protection of the environment from a governance lens. And so, for example, Stop Ecocide campaign is featured among others on the website, including others from the Climate Governance Commission. So the Climate Governance Commission, those proposals, some of those key proposals will then go into Mega, and Mega will form these smart coalitions with global civil society, like-minded states, to work on the different governance transformation proposals. So this smart coalition strategy has worked previously for different other campaigns. Again, global civil society, like-minded states. One successful campaign was the Coalition for the International Criminal Court to create the ICC, and there are other examples. So that is the intention of Mega. And this is a quote from one of the co-founders of Mega, who said he's UK former finance professional, but he suggests, and I would agree with him, and you can say what you think, but you know, he thinks, okay, this is not really an environmental or climate crisis. It's a global governance crisis. We just don't have sufficient international governance, which I think is a very interesting lens, and indeed why I'm working on these various issues. So a few concluding thoughts. You know, these issues of ground corruption, climate, environment, peace, conflict, economic inequality, other inequalities, they're very, very interlinked, and sometimes extremely closely interlinked, for example, with ground corruption and risk and realities of conflict and militarization and violations of international law and human rights. They can be very, very closely linked, that those who are in public office and engaging in ground corruption, you know, generally aren't really there generally for the public interest. And so it sort of cascades across the system, across these really vital areas. Also, a lot of environmental and climate crime is linked to, you know, corruption and ground corruption, as well as criminality, obviously. So, you know, I think it's interesting to think of the interlinkage of these various issues. And yeah, solutions. And, you know, we started off with Rebecca saying about, you know, the negativity of many of the disintegration we see around the world, which is very, very real, and the very extreme challenges. But also there are all these new communities internationally where people are really, you know, trying to listen to each other, try to work together, and really find solutions. So I see so much of that happening. And a lot of the work is going on, very substantial, influential work is going on behind the scenes, and, you know, we can all accelerate that. And also from our very experiences, you know, transformative policies are possible. And I personally think it's important to be ambitious. I mean, there's attention to detail to focus. The local is very important. Different incremental steps are super important, but also we shouldn't forget about, you know, more ambitious ideas also. Yeah, and part of the solution is the constant education and dialogue, which I think we're seeing also more and more in the international community, like the progressive trends within it. So yeah, I will just end with noting that there's the launch for MEGA on March 26th. It's hybrid. Will be about noon Geneva time. It will be in Geneva on the margins of the International Parliamentary Union. And we have someone to host a US launch in the coming months, but if anyone wants to collaborate on an Asian launch or other regional launches, just let me know. And there's a link also on the website to become a participating organization. You can just sign up online if you wish to. So I'll end there and we can go to discussion.
Hello, Raymond, are you still there?
I can still hear Maya, but now I can, for some reason, I cannot hear him.
Hello, Raymond. You were this the connection, the Wi-Fi or some connection that this status is not very good. Unmute, please, Raymond. Try.
Yeah, thank you, Bob. Certainly, we appreciate the update given by Maya on a lot of the progress that the work that we've done. But at the same time, paint a picture of the real challenge in global governance crisis. They say they don't fix the global governance, any issue
Okay. Excuse me, Raymond. Excuse me, Raymond. All members, they have, they have some difficulties to, like understanding your voice. It's not very clear. So maybe.
My apologies. Sorry.
So because you are not connected with the through the computer, but like your mobile phone, right? Smartphone. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Raymond, it's somewhat because of the the condition, that the network condition, like connection is not very good. I would like to take place of you your role. Okay, if you allow me. Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Because you are outside. I asked you to what to do this serve as a moderator, but maybe you are not any place like your office. You are not in your home, so you are connected maybe outside. Okay. Anyway, thank you, Maja. Your updates of your what this your work, particularly like IACC and International Anti-Corruption Court. Okay, the campaign for the International Anti-Corruption Court is kinds of like part 1 and part 2. You are like the this Climate Governance Commission, and you just what the initial of that is MEGA, right? MEGA. This is campaign, and what your conclusion? I was very impressed that interrelation. Okay, interrelation of different some factors. Okay, this is very important. So we might think it's somewhat a separate thing, but they are also somewhat connected, right? And so what this is like the campaign for the IACC, Anti-International Corruption Court, is sounds to me like the what do you call it? This the Yugoslavia, the criminal court. There is like ICJ. No. What is that? This is the first time we are some criminals. They were the placed at in the court, right? In the court, and this is like a very similar, but to me, I think without the superpowers participation, particular role of like United States, and the support from the UN or some the governmental agencies are very important. Okay, in addition to civil society, and you emphasize that it's kinds of the NGO, this like promoting this campaign, Integrity Initiative International, right? I, okay, triple I, and the MEGA. Okay, MEGA is like a pure like kinds of like a civil society movement. Okay, if I understand. No, it's like a global government.
Well, it depends. It's working with like-minded states. Definitely. Okay. It's also because that's the winning formula that gets transformations in the international system when you have like-minded states working with civil society for these goals, these concrete, tangible goals in the global public interest. So that's like a very winning formula of sort of action and transformation.
Okay. So we open to the floor. Okay, so our core regular members are here, like so-called opinion leaders. Okay, opinion leaders from different part of the world. Okay, so I hope everyone of you, okay, each one of you will hope to participate. Any comments or raise any questions, and you would like to know more about this campaign, or the progress, you can also raise more questions. Okay, so I open to the floor. Already two friends are okay. Raise hands, and the first Rebecca. I give Rebecca and Mikio-san. Okay, first Rebecca, it's your turn.
Maja, again, excuse me. Thank you for your presentation. Always informative and always enlightening and interesting and also challenging. I've always been pleased with the composition of the members, the Central Committee that are interested in putting a stop to international corruption. I noted that many African countries are represented in various capacities and at various levels. Ironically, if you look at the corruption index, the corruption index, many African countries are at the top of that list. So it is interesting on the one hand to see that you have representatives from those countries who are trying to stamp out or to work to slow down misuse of national resources. On the other hand, I wonder how you already mentioned the example of one of the judges in South American country that was threatened with her family. I'm wondering how effective these representatives from African countries can be when they are in a group. They were initiated in a society where corruption is endemic, where sometimes businesses see corruption as a way of promoting or of doing business. One of the things that I'm concerned about is most of those representatives are ex-government officials or ex-head of multinational or corporations within the countries and stuff. So they still have links to the system. On one hand, they know a lot of information about how to put a stamp on that. On the other hand, I'm wondering how effective they can be, because there are still ties to the government, ties to the system, to the institution. And I just wonder how the international corruption organization is going to deal with those kinds of complexities. I really applaud the idea of starting from somewhere, creating the awareness so that even the people on the streets know that, hey, the world is taking note of some of these illegal practices that are promoted by our leaders. That's just what is troubling me now, because and your organization is doing an excellent job in trying to sensitize people at various levels, from the grassroots to the top. That's just what is on my mind at this time. Thank you so much again.
Thank you, Rebecca. Okay, Maja, would you respond?
Yeah, thanks, Rebecca, for all of those excellent points. And indeed, you know, at the national level or whatever level that you know, prosecutors, investigators are trying to tackle corruption, it's challenging. It's quite challenging because, you know, the intention is sort of like, you know, other types of criminal activity where it's hidden. And then we have also in the international system, you know, financial complexity, shell companies, etc. But what's amazed me, I've only been working in this area now for maybe 2.5 years, is the determination, the passion, and the expertise and the growing expertise and intelligence of so many people working in this area, like across the world, who are so devoted, like in national contexts, and also developing new techniques to really tackle these sometimes difficult prosecutions, which indeed can be linked to like the current power structures. So that is indeed part of they're just, yes, they're inherently challenging issues, but I would say that a lot of criminal or judicial prosecution is difficult. You know, it requires a lot of effort and energy and refining your techniques. And in this project, we're trying to draw from like the best practices, the best techniques, the best information. And just on that topic, in terms of expertise and success, we were just meeting in London with the International Anti-Corruption Coordination Center. And they work interagency with some core countries that cover, I think, 80% of global sort of assets or wealth in the world. So potentially, you know, really a lot of information on stolen resources. And they were just started in 2017. And they have, you know, what they've achieved already is incredible. Like they've helped to freeze hundreds of millions of dollars. They've, with just one country, for example, they were saying they found $1.9 billion that had been stolen. That was recently, and the country couldn't find it. They asked for the help to find it. They're helping different countries with like mobile forensic investigation units. So, you know, there is like quite developed expertise and cooperation techniques that we'll try to mirror in the IACC. But, you know, and also, as I mentioned, there's the proximate issue of like the tax haven network and shell companies, but there's also some legal techniques around those issues where it's making it harder for, you know, corrupt individuals to hide money in that way. And there have also been like very successful programs at the national level, despite challenges. For example, the current Undersecretary General for African Affairs at the UN, we spoke to her. She's former finance minister in Cape Verde. And through like digitizations of customs, transactions and other things. So there's also like really heroic, amazing work done at the national level. And so hopefully the international level can work with us, support that more, but also have really excellence, you know, at the international level, you know, or the best possible support at the international level. And I just wanted to mention also the phenomenon, you know, Rebecca, when you're saying like it's so entrenched, the power structures, or there's so many links, it might be so pervasive. But where do you start? You have to start from all sides, right? And just get the incentives and, you know, the deterrence effects from as many sides as you can. One interesting phenomenon that we've seen is like new governments being elected on an anti-corruption platform, for example, in Moldova. So the administration and the current president, she's a strong supporter of this court because, you know, smaller countries, or they have huge corruption cases at very high levels, but they don't have, they just don't have the resources, the capacity. How do you tackle it and what's so entrenched? They want to, for example, have an IACC where they can transfer a case and get the help of the international community. And I was talking to a Moldovan intern working with III, and one of the British officials had said, "Oh, the door is closing in Moldova because people get elected and not reelected, or closing in Moldova because this administration might go out of." But she said the door isn't closing. The population of Moldova is not going to tolerate any more corruption. They're completely like, it's not going away. They're going to keep working until this is, gone. So I was very impressed there too. So I think there's a lot of civil society and citizen movements too in various countries around the world.
Okay, thank you, Maya. Okay, next, okay, so it's okay. Okay, Mikio-san, it's your turn.
Okay, hello, Maya, and long time not to see you. I still remember we had a good discussion in Manila. I think it was the year 2018, and yeah. Anyway, thank you very much for your very comprehensive presentation on two issues. One is the international anti-corruption and the court, and another one is about environmental issue. So maybe today I want to ask you two questions. Maybe the first one is okay, and anyway, I want to focus about the international anti-corruption court movement because this is something quite new to me. And okay, so anyway, so I think it's good to have a very good connection with this anti-corruption issue with the human rights and of course democracy. Yeah? And my PhD was about how they say in Malaysia, forceful eviction. People like so-called squatters, and they form the community, but they don't have the right to the land. And then the development project came, and then those people were forced to evict. And then often the police and work with developers. Then of course it's a corruption. Yeah? And yeah, my PhD was mostly about this case. So I think for the people in maybe the developing countries, especially the countries which economy is growing very rapidly, then I think this is one of the common issues and the people's rights, especially people's right for housing, yeah? And this right is kind of violated. So I'm just wondering also your movement also can maybe I think include this issue, I think. And in my view, this is one of the most significant issue. And this is the kind of life issue for the common people in especially the developing countries. So maybe you may have some story about this one. And another one is how do I say, more cultural issue. And as Rebecca says, and many of the people in participating this movement, IACC movement, is from the developing countries, and that's fine. Then maybe there might be some discussion, maybe debate, and what is the definition of corruption? And again, another example is that maybe of course, the patron-client relationship. Patron-client relationship, very, very strong in many Asian countries or African countries. Then basically the people just, how do you say, ensure their livelihood or survival by joining one of these patron-client relationships. Again, this is a hotbed of corruption. But for many people, this is a kind of the way of life. And this one reflects a certain cultural issue, maybe the values and whatever. So this one reflects the kind of the, how do you say, non-European value maybe. So I think that I guess there might be some kind of the debate or discussion how to define the corruption that can be accepted by all the people in the world, yeah? And yeah, that's all. Maybe you can share maybe some stories, ideas about this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Mikio-san. Okay, very interesting question. Okay, okay, Maya, would you respond?
Yeah. So thank you so much, Mikio. So yeah, for the connection with human rights and democracy, completely agree. Completely. It's so fundamentally intertwined. And that's why like a few former human rights commissioners, high commissioners for human rights, like Nave Pillay is on our advisory committee, and she's spoken out, as corruption as, a quintessential human rights issue, saying that corruption kills, it deprives people of healthcare, education, basic infrastructure so they can thrive and prosper, housing, as you were saying, so basic. And I think, yeah, we very much support making these linkages stronger, and like also, having the public education about that, also with democracy, of course, and the governments that are involved in trying to tackle, or are really worried about the state of corruption in the world, have this linkage with democracy very clear in their minds. Like the democracy summits, they've really featured combating, corruption, high level corruption in particular, because then it sets the tone, of course, for the whole system. So yeah, I think with the housing issue, other issues, there's so many exactly where people are just so badly affected. And like some of the youth, for example, like we have a youth advocate from Lebanon who's just, she and her young colleagues are just horrified at the state of things in their country, where they realize their future is just being taken away from them, basically, because of the very, very entrenched high-level corruption. And in terms of the cultural issue question, I think it's so interesting and really important to think about those dimensions. And I think like the IACC, because it's really tackling big, like really big corruption. So it wouldn't be addressing, people who are just trying to survive sort of in a, community. People obviously need social programs, they need opportunities, civil servants need to be paid enough, et cetera, et cetera. There's more systemic to address, those smaller instances of corruption. And then of course there's, different cultural practices, which those have to be, I think, worked out according to different countries and different cultures. But at the international level, like at the highest levels, I think there are very strong definitions at the moment now. I think there's been a lot of dialogue. So that UN convention adopted in 2003 has 109, I think it was 190. It used to be 189. It just another state or jurisdiction signed up. So that's basically every country in the world across every region has really, and it has really clear, crimes of corruption that are mandatory that they've agreed on. So, and I think also, if there is an impartial international tribunal, I would imagine if necessary, there would be sensitivity to cultural issues, but I think it'll be quite obvious, if a head of state or a government is stealing, hundreds of millions or a million, it's like, is that a social network that's culturally, contexted in a gift culture? I think it will be quite obvious that that's a betrayal of the public trust. Do you know what I mean? It's like really these high level corruption where it's like public money that's being used. It's supposed to be for education, but that's nothing to do with, traditional cultural networks, even though maybe some cultural patterns will inform maybe, oh, I'm going to give it to my brother or whatever, which is cross-cultural, I think. Anyway, so I think there are very strong international definitions, and it would be really, these very large sum of monies that isn't about sort of local communities or people who are just trying to survive.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Maja, thank you. Okay, I'd like to invite two persons, okay, this group first now, okay, and the second group, the Izumi-san, your group is the second, okay. Bernard from Philippines, and okay, Vitun from Thailand, okay. First, Bernard, okay, would you, okay.
Thank you, Sungho. Hello,
Okay.
Maja. Good to see you. Learned a lot as usual. Few comments and a question. Number one, I already signed the integrity initiatives about 2-3 years ago. Number two, I already download materials from the websites that you have, the links you have provided. The least I can do is I include them in my column and in my modules in school for both grad and undergrad. What caught my eye is the campaign to make ecocide the 5th international crime. So it's very difficult now to campaign for an international criminal anti-corruption court and ecocide as the 5th crime. So we better hurry before World War III breaks out. Second to the last comment, I saw Greta Thunberg in one of the boards. So, I mean, her Instagram followers, you add the Instagram followers of Malala, they won't even be 1/4 of the Instagram followers of Caitlyn Jenner or Taylor Swift. So if we're campaigning for something, I think the attention of the Gen Z is being hoarded by the likes of Taylor Swift and Caitlyn Jenner. And my question is, would it be better or worse if organizations like the Bilderberg meeting or Trilateral Commission are involved? So that's it. Thank you, Sung Ho. Nice to see you again, Maya, and we will continue to push for all of this.
Of course.
Mabuhay.
Of course, Bernard. Okay, thank you. Please, Maya, you remember, you keep, okay, and I open to the Dr. Bitun. Okay, you can join. Okay.
So should I ask my question now?
Okay, sure.
Okay, thank you. Just two really quick questions. The first one is about the name of the court, because I heard two different names: International Anti-Corruption Court and International Corruption Court. I'm not sure which one is the right one. And also use the term ICC, because when I heard the term ICC, I immediately think of International Criminal Court. So I'm just wondering, is there any way to differentiate, to make it clear that, when we use the term ICC, it's not International Criminal Court? Just my observation, okay?
Okay.
And the second, yeah.
Go ahead, please.
And the second question is a little bit related to Rebecca's, the first question. My understanding is most corruption happen at national level within countries. If we want to bring cases to international court, what mechanism we are using? Can we really do that? Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Maya, would you respond? Then I will, the invited, third group. Okay.
Yeah, thanks so much to both of you. So to Bernard's, comment about we better hurry before World War III breaks out. Sadly, I think we are running obviously we're in a very dangerous, risky time in international history. So if we have time at the end, I'd really be interested to hear from all of you, from your perspectives, what you think in terms, but that's of course a risk for more generalized armed conflict spreading in the world, among other challenges like AI, misinformation sort of tendencies. Will those gather more steam quite quickly? So I agree that the intersecting risks of the moment are very real. And that's why I feel like a multi-pronged approach across various issue areas is really important, and building citizen awareness, understanding at the international level is so important, and civil society, like-minded governments, so important to work together. Anyway, so that was just an aside. So, but for Taylor Swift, I like the suggestion of Taylor Swift. We'll try to get her on board, Bernard, then. We have one potential very large international pop band that we're trying to approach, and we actually have made some inroads. But it takes a lot of time and energy to reach out to someone who's, like so in demand. But okay, we'll look into those various options. But I completely agree also that like media and social media, and that you were saying the Gen Zers or the youngsters are really important. And I was just talking to somebody yesterday who's the head of a biodiversity institute. She was like, there's a huge opportunity with teens, preteens now who are so much on Instagram, etc. And so we actually have a proposals for a global communications project for the Climate Governance Commission. But it's just a matter of time of getting to it. And I also have a documentary filmmaker. She won an Academy Award for helping to produce the film My Octopus Teacher. Has anyone seen that? It's on Netflix. It calls My Octopus. It's so beautiful. If you ever want to watch a beautiful film, it's really amazing. I'll try to put the link in the chat. So yeah, we'll keep trying. And I don't know, Bernard, I don't know about the Bilderberg. If you want to put the links to, you said the Bilderberg and one other institute, put them in the chat. I've heard of them, but I don't know them well, so I'll take a look. And then the question from Vitun about the name. Yeah, so the court does not exist yet, the anti-corruption court, but the working title is International Anti-Corruption Court, IACC. So that will probably go into the draft treaty, and it will likely, if the court gets created, it'll be something similar to that, but IACC. And then indeed, I was talking about the IACC, which is very different. It was established started operations in 2002, a statute adopted 1998. And trying, the set of crimes under that statute is war crimes, crimes against humanity, genocide, and crime of aggression, international aggression. And indeed, it's difficult, is it? Because for people working in the field every day, we can keep them straight in our head, but I think for the public, it's difficult, or for other professional backgrounds. And I think that's an interesting challenge, because we have the International Court of Justice also in The Hague, which is disputes between states. The ICC is only about individuals for war crimes, blah, 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 etc. So it's sort of like these different courts, which are very important for the public interest, but sometimes it's quite, technical what they address. So that's a communications challenge, I guess, also. And your question about jurisdiction, indeed, like that's the point, national level, and it becomes a closed system where, certain states are sort of under lock and key of certain corrupt individuals can be for many decades even. So that's the point of the International Court, is try to break that cycle and to help support states transition out of the systemic state capture. And so in terms of getting jurisdiction for an IACC, so first there's the type of state that I mentioned that like there's a new administration elected on an anti-corruption platform. They will, if it's a good court, they will join as soon as possible and sort of lock in this commitment with this oversight. So that's one type of state around the world that would join an IACC. And we know many states like that are really struggling, and people within those states that are really struggling. Also, we're exploring what we think will be a very strong jurisdictional link to international money laundering centers. For example, the UK, Canada, Singapore, Netherlands, etc., where Switzerland, Germany, etc., where the money, part of the crime of grand corruption actually occurs in these states, where the money is laundered through, or people, buy villas, here or there, a ton of real estate to launder their money. So the court can take jurisdiction in those circumstances as well. It doesn't matter if a state has signed up to the court or not, because those countries often already have jurisdiction, but they're not prosecuting these high-level officials with regularity.
Okay, thank you, Maya. Okay, I'll invite the third group. Okay, Izumi-san and how about Christelle? Okay, Madam Christelle McDonald, you can join. Because I thought about the late ambassador, okay, McDonald. He would have interest in these topics. Okay, okay. Anyway, okay, Izumi-san first.
Oh, thank you. Oh, can you read me?
Yeah, I can hear. Yeah, right.
My voice not clear. Okay. Thank you, Maya Groff. This is for the first time to talk to you. Nice to meet you. My name is Toshika Izumi. You can call me Toshi in Japan. I'm a freelancer translator. So, first of all, I want to thank to you. This topic IACC is I've never thought of these topics, international corruption. So your topic suggests and suggest corruption. The corruption undermines democracy and human rights. Is fresh and a new perspective on human rights. It provided me. So thank you. My question is about some experts who attended, Euro Parliament subcommittee had March 2023 last year, focusing on towards the IACC. So in the discussion, some experts have reservations about the effectiveness or feasibility of the IACC. And nobody opposed to the global battle against grand corruption. But some people think otherwise should emphasize strengthening national jurisdiction. So, I mean, repeated that. And how their question or reservation has been addressed in the IACC campaign or among people. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you, Jimmy-san. Okay, I hope you could catch it. Okay. Christelle, would you say a few words or any comments?
Yes, I would be delighted to, because I was thinking of what Maya referred to in Moldova, and I can make a trace back to via the Ukraine to Georgia. My husband was involved in what led later to the Rose Revolution through multi-track diplomacy. Some of the young people in Georgia at that time were interns at my husband's Institute for Multi-Track Diplomacy, which he founded in 1992. And now we have had the Rose Revolution. Then I'm thinking of the Ukraine. It was the political issue of corruption. There were the present leader was trying to instate anti-corruption measures and so on. So that was on the top level. But at the same time, an interest developed among citizens, whether they were bankers or business people and so on, in this concept of corruption and multi-track diplomacy and how this could be married. Then, unfortunately, well, this also then went over to Moldova, because I know that we had people visiting the Institute for Multi-Track Diplomacy coming from Moldova. But then, unfortunately, came the war. And because of the top level stopping to talk about anti-corruption, there were, however, still the business people who wanted to do something. One was a banker, and they found people who were business people in co-ops. And they created a system which is hard to trace right now, but there were about, in total, by the time the war was halfway into the war, about 180 little co-ops, food co-ops. They only could become a food co-op under this umbrella of anti-corruption if they signed up for We Are for Anti-Corruption. So there is this seed. Even during the war now, we are still in touch with those who can communicate with IMTD about what they are doing. They cannot do very much, but the believers are still there if they haven't died because of the war. So that is this little chain I see from Georgia to the Ukraine, going to Moldova, and where people are aware of it. And I see two levels. It's on the political level, where the higher ups, as you referred to earlier already, are dealing with it. But it brings some truth also to a lot of the lower level business community, and even to the most poor people. Still, this concept of justice is there. So that's what I would like to add.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Christian. Okay, is there anyone who would like to join? Because this is the final round and the last group. Okay, so if would you like to make any comments briefly? Okay, so okay, Zam. Okay, welcome, Zam. Ramadan period, right? Okay, after prayer and what the fasting period. Okay, finally join. Okay, Zam. Okay, so Zam, your turn.
All right, thank you, Sung Ho. Hi, Maya. Nice to see you again. Nice to see everybody again. Yeah, it's Ramadan, so I was just breaking fast just now, and then did my evening prayer. So that's why I was a bit late, but I managed to catch, most of the presentation just now. Interesting as always. Actually, I don't know how to react. So I will just react as a local, Malaysian person. With no influence at that high level, that they are going through. So, if you ask a normal Malaysian, I would say that people do agree, that we need to do something about corruption, because Malaysia is a country rife with corruption, especially at the top level. The politicians, many of them are corrupt, and well, we kept on, going after one after another. Politicians, former prime minister is now in jail and still being pursued, for other cases, and we know that over the years, corruption has been rife in the country, and we are really sick of it. We really want to do, more against corruption. I think the normal, regular person in Malaysia would think like that. But somehow, we also got a bit worried, because, we do have a government now that is that is going after all these cases, but we also see that, that the cases are rather selective. They're going after enemies, their enemies, former politicians and their enemies. They're going after all those cronies of the previous prime minister, previous governments, and not going after their friends. So their friends, they don't go after these people, they just go after their enemies. And so people get a bit disillusioned. Here we are, talking about pursuing corruption, but then cases are selective in nature. and cases, clear-cut cases have been thrown out of the court, and people are very unhappy. And that is at that level, at the national level. So now we move to a higher level. We move to an international level. So people then might be thinking, if I'm a normal Malaysian guy, which I am a normal Malaysian guy, I might be thinking that if this is happening in our country, is it not going to happen at the international level? I mean, cases that are going to be pursued, are these really real cases, or, at the international level, are they going to be selective as well, pursuing cases against, countries and individuals that they don't like, and how about, countries, that have been corrupt for many years? Are we going to bring up those cases again? So a lot of these questions, I think people will be asking. Especially now, there is this perception that you really cannot trust, at the international level. They do policies at that level according to their interests. If it's something that they want to pursue, they will. If not, they won't. And then they have their pet projects, and they have their friends and their colleagues. You have a lot of these things, a lot of these things happening at the international level. So people will start, thinking about that. People will also start think that, here we are, trying to establish another court. And what happened to the courts that we already have now, in terms of implementing, the policies, in terms of bringing people to justice. And then even when we bring, these people to justice at the ICJ, for example, you charge Israel, with crimes against humanity, and nothing happens. You bring the Myanmar government to the, to the court, for crimes against humanity, against the Rohingya in Myanmar, nothing. People tend to get disillusioned, with all these things. How are we going to prove that once we have the International Anti-Corruption Court, this is going to be different, from all the other courts? We are going to face all the issues. Are we going to implement them well? We're not going to be selective. We're going to be very transparent. And then there is, sense of justice, that we're going to uphold. How are we going to convince the people that this is something, that is necessary, and things can be done in a transparent, open, and in a way that can convince people that, look, this is really, a good thing, rather than a few, international dignitaries going around saying that, oh, we have to do this, we have to do that. So you have to convince the normal people in this kind of situation, and people actually might even say that, the focus now is that, like see Bernard was telling, that we have to do these things before the beginning of World War III, for example. There are more urgent issues that people might be thinking of. We need to stop the war in Ukraine. We need to stop the war against the Palestinians in Gaza. There are so many things, that we want to do. So why should we then, transfer our attention to this particular effort, when there are so many other urgent issues that we have to consider? I'm sorry for bringing all these things up. Sometimes I do understand that I sound like, a pain always, but I'm just mentioning what I feel, people on the ground in Malaysia would feel, about all these things. And thank you again, Maja, for your presentation.
Thank you, Zam. You are a good student. Okay, good student. You are very provocative. Okay, the question. Okay, and I saw the one comments. Okay, Raymond, even though he could not, serve as a moderator, he left his comments in chat. I'll read it. Thank you for the update and encouraging progress of your advocacies. Certainly, at the core of it is global governance crisis. We share in your hope for progress towards just skillful, mature global culture, we can plant the seeds and lay the groundwork. Okay, Raymond. Okay, thank you. Okay, Maya, how about Ambassador Jenny? Are you ready, or you will join? Or okay, okay. Okay, your turn briefly. Okay.
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Maya, for your as always interesting presentation. And I'm glad that it seems that in the effort to go or to establish this institution, there seems to be a critical mass already. I mean, you have the support not only from non-governmental sectors, but also from businesses and certain governments. The thing is, of course, how you move forward towards really having or negotiating the instrument that would govern this issue. And maybe this is a follow-up to, I don't remember which colleague has mentioned that, but on the question of definition of corruption. My question perhaps is a little bit out of focus of this discussion, but it relates to the slides that you have, where you have John Kerry, and then this wording that basically saying that corruption is affecting a number of problems, including this stability in the world. And in this, and related to this, what my question is, this is related to the U.S. And how is the donation from certain non-governmental bodies to Congress people? Is it how legitimate is it actually? Because if the definition is corruption, that you are asking a favor through giving something, then I think what is happening in the U.S. when a legislator receives money from a body that is asking a favor for the policy making or defending something, do you think it would later on be covered? Because it is really frustrating these days to see some of those legislators, they just keep their eyes closed on what is happening in Gaza. How can that happen? So I'm fully supportive if this convention later on would cover that, giving money to legislator, because in Indonesia, legislators are paid by the government. They have their salary. They are given also certain money for campaigning, for certain activities. So they are not allowed to receive money, principally. So that is my question. Thank you. Sorry for a focus of this discussion, perhaps.
Thank you, Ambassador Jenny. Okay. These are all questions. Okay, in our last group. Okay, Maya, I think you can answer or respond and your closing remarks. Okay, and I hope all the opinion leaders from these Asian countries and our Global Thursday Forum members, their comments will contribute to some progress of your agenda. Okay, your campaign. Okay, thank you, Maya. Okay.
Thanks so much. Thanks for all those excellent questions and comments. First, Toshi, tell me if I didn't understand correctly, but you were saying some of the, concerns raised about an IACC efficacy, effectiveness, is it feasible? So in terms of some of the early critics of the IACC, a lot of it was, oh, this is not politically feasible. No state will ever support this. So now we're beyond that. There is really actually impressive state support already. So in terms of that, political, in terms of getting that state support, that's already addressed one of the concerns. And the effectiveness has been often about the, the question that was asked earlier about how will a court take jurisdiction to get at those difficult national systems and leaders where there's very entrenched. So those jurisdictional links that I explained, and that's the theory of trying to have a court that actually gets at really a diversity of actors because of the international financial system where money is being laundered, globally. Those people who, steal money, they often like to keep it in stable jurisdictions where they know their money will be protected, or, buy a large house in London or Switzerland or wherever, France, et cetera, et cetera. So, or their yacht is parked, as we saw after the Russia invasion, their yacht is parked here or there. So there are these various jurisdictional links in addition to the states that they have enlightened leadership who want to really make progress in their country. They want support. So to Christel's comments are very interesting about that connection, Ukraine, Georgia, Moldova. And just to echo, like, the citizen response, and there's research that, like, across the political spectrum, no matter what, like, party population support around the world, right, left, whatever, everybody hates corruption, like, for obvious reasons. But then, so it's very interesting to also hear your comments about, coming into the popular consciousness, and also the business community, which we've heard a lot, which businesses, they don't want to deal with the uncertainty of, also if they're going to be held liable, or if their competitors are paying bribes and they can't pay bribe, or like businesses, and they want to do things properly. So there's a lot of business support also, because systemic corruption also undermines economic growth and progress and stability. Zam, yes, all of your great comments and questions. Sorry, I don't know if I can read all of my writing, but I think, like, all of your points were really great in terms of, prosecutorial, like, selectivity of prosecutors potentially at the national level. And we see that in various countries, right? It's not just in Malaysia, it's I won't mention them by name, we could, but that's a very real phenomenon. So I mean, if this IACC is properly designed and then operationalized, that should theoretically help with such selectivity, if it's genuinely neutral and you genuinely have expert investigators, prosecutors, and judges. However, of course, it's challenging. We know from other international institutions that it is challenging in a multilateral environment to ensure there's also sensitivity to, like, national, local circumstances, to know, how to make sure you have even-handed prosecutions, and kind of the lay of the land in terms of the political factions. But this is a really interesting point to bring on board, because there could be, regional advisors or neutral national advisors, like, with true impartiality, which I think would be really important. And also we've talked about, even at an IACC, having, like, a committee of prosecutors that will decide on which cases to prosecute, rather than one prosecutor having to make all the the decisions, and to then have like this more stronger diversity of views. So I think all of those are yeah, those points are really, really important and have to be, that's part of also the learning with the International Criminal Court, even though sometimes it's like a perception. Sometimes, you know, of course, prosecutors make certain decisions, but then sometimes it's you know, different dynamics aren't so accurate in terms of, you know, prosecutorial bias. Like if you look at Fatou Bensouda, the first African prosecutor, the ICC, what she says about the International Criminal Court. And then, I mean, in terms of addressing old cases, it would likely just be like from the time the statute entered into force for a given country going forward. So that wouldn't necessarily be an issue. But also if an international court has scarce resources, you know, they might not be able to try every case at a national level, but hopefully they would be able to do it like a cross section of high profile cases across, you know, political parties, like in a truly neutral way. And you mentioned the ICJ, and, you know, I've written papers on, you know, reform of the ICJ to make it a better court, because indeed it's super frustrating to have these like gestures, even though ICJ decisions, even the International Court of Justice as it is now, it hasn't been reformed since 1945 when the UN Charter was adopted. So even now it does have influence. For example, the advisory opinion in 1996 on nuclear weapons has informed the nuclear policy of like nuclear weapon states. So it absolutely has influence, but it's not yet really a stronger, proper court. So I'm very much on the same page with you, but at least countries are going to it and they're expecting better justice, which I think is positive, but we need to strengthen these institutions and upgrade them. And in terms of like all the other urgent issues, I would say, like, I do think all of these are interlinked. Like grand corruption is directly linked to these volatile situations. I mean, if you look at Ukraine, Russia, if you look at also Israel, Palestine, big corruption issues in the Israeli state, also in the Palestinian institutions. There was a survey about, you know, what populations were sort of across Israel were agreeing on, and they all were very angry about corruption. So anyways, I do think these are all interlinked. And then just Ambassador Jenny, the question about, let's see. Oh, yes, corruption in politics, like in the US, sort of legalized or quasi-legal corruption of legislators being paid off or given donation, et cetera, hugely important issue. And ironically, you mentioned John Kerry, but in his interview he gave, I can't remember if it was the New York Times or maybe it was the New Yorker, an interview as he was stepping down from being climate envoy. He said this was like a major issue in the US. And then of course it affects the whole world because the US policy affects all of us. And he said it hadn't been on the agenda for 10 years, for example, in the like, and it's a huge like campaign finance reform. And it's also a contentious issue. One of these definitions of corruption at the international level, there's many countries that say, of course, categorically, this is corruption. So I think there's ways to leave open in this IACC to have that kind of political campaign finance corruption hopefully addressed at one stage, even though the US at this stage might try to block it, even if they don't want to support the court anyway. But I think it's fundamentally important. And Kerry linked it very much also to like the climate issues, why climate hasn't been more quickly addressed, and the fossil fuel lobby, but also the general money and politics. So very, very important.
Okay, that's all, Maya. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Okay. This is the first day of our Thursday forum. Its official time is over. Okay, so I declare this forum is over, and next schedule. Okay, let me tell you next schedule. I already said 2 weeks, every 2 weeks, and 2 weeks later, March 23rd. Okay. We'll have our second forum this year, and speaker is Professor Bernard Carganilla from the Philippines. Okay, the Bernard is here, and we are talking about the topic. I will discuss the topic. I asked him to talk about the conflict management of South China Sea and the peace building or something, but I'll discuss a little more with him, okay? Today, okay, so thank you very much, okay, Maja. Today's updates of your agenda, the IACC progress, and also the climate governance commission. Okay, the all activities and particularly mega.
Okay. Thank you. Can I make one point, one thing that sorry, just a last comment. I remember something else that Sam had said about different other priorities or different levels. Also, like, none of this should interrupt the important work that's being done at all levels or different issues. Do you know what I mean? Like, it shouldn't suck all the energy or resources of like all the other important approaches and things that are happening. It's more, this international layer, in my view, is important, and we have to also make progress on that, but it shouldn't suck out resources from other really important work or levels or perspectives or issues.
Okay, right. Good point. To save our time, I didn't make comments, but in Korea, the Korean government is emphasizing, the ESG management or ESG strategy. ESG stands for like environment, social, and governance. Okay, this is new trend for even the education in university and also in the many, the business establishments, okay, particularly in the companies. So your points like, the corruption, like bribery, or this is associated with a social part agenda or something, or the governance other environment is very closely associated with like, the climate change or something. So I think the more people will be in favor of the company, okay, business sector will be in favor of the agenda, I'm sure. Okay. How about Zam? You are still waiting? Okay,
Yes.
You do better make it short. Okay.
No. Just no comment on anything. Just I want to flag a conference that we are organizing.
Okay, sure. Yeah,
in
share
August.
it. Yeah, right.
We are organizing a conference on human rights and peace in Southeast Asia, and the conference is on 13th and 14th of August. Okay, and then we're gonna I can send you the announcement and the call for abstracts, and the abstracts are due April 15, but I can send you all the papers. So please look at it, and if you or your colleagues or your students are interested to come, we welcome you. This is in Penang in August.
Okay, right, Penang.
Beautiful time to be in Penang. Welcome.
Zam, you sent to me this old notice, right? This program. So shall I share it with all members here?
Please.
Okay. Yeah. Next notice, I'll send it. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. So thank you for joining today's forum. Okay, and I also thank the Raymond. Okay, to be a moderator. Okay, even though I take in charge of this take place of your role. Okay, because of the connection problem. Okay, so it's quite late here in Korea and in Japan. Okay, so I should say okay, goodbye here, and I hope only Bernard stay here. Okay, we can discuss a little more. Okay, and everybody, please, you can dismiss. Okay. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. See you in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Bye bye. Bye bye. Okay.
Bye bye.
Okay.